I just don't think he has it anymore.
Melo's the role he didn't want in Oklahoma.
Carmelo Anthony drills it straight away.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Control the Narrative, a podcast where we control the narrative that the media creates. If you're new around here, subscribe to catch our weekly podcast. And if you're a returner, a subscriber, or better yet, a Control the Narrative member, like these three fine gentlemen are today, we appreciate you as always. Want to get into this pretty quickly. Today, the news was announced that Carmelo Anthony will be joining the Los Angeles Lakers for the 2021-2022 NBA season. And speaking from myself, I'm devastated. I know a lot of people are very happy about this in terms of Melo fans. So curious to get these three guys' opinion on what they think. And like, fuck it, man. Let's just jump into it. We got Vic top right. We got Reggie bottom right, and we got Evan bottom left. So first of all, appreciate all three of you for taking time out on short notice to come on and talk. I think the best way to do this is just like a round table of just like venting or celebrating, however you guys feel. So I think we could start with Vic top right. How do you feel about Carmelo joining the Lakers?
I mean, it wasn't my first option. Not the biggest LeBron fan. Obviously, anybody that's watched any episode that I've been on know that. So the whole LeBron thing is just kind of what gets me is it's not necessarily LA that's the problem. It's LeBron that's my problem. Because any success Melo has will not be Melo's success. It'll be towards LeBron's legacy, which is the problem I have. Because if it was just, I don't know, if it was Kawhi Leonard, anybody else, I'd be happy because it's like a championship caliber team. He has a chance to win a ring. I do think with this team, him going there, it's not going to be the same type of story we had with Terry Stotts. Like, we get told it's going to be this, and then when he gets playing, it's going to be that. I literally think on this one, he went in and said, "This is what I want. This is what I'm looking for. What are you guys doing?" I'm pretty sure they told him what moves they were gonna make. GM LeBron pretty much gave him the whole spiel, and he agreed to go there for that reason. But just anybody under LeBron's umbrella is always overshadowed by him. And it's the most frustrating thing in sports. LeBron is like the Patrick Mahomes is for the NFL. When they win, it's all on them. Like, did you see what LeBron did? Did you see what Pat Mahomes did? The Chiefs was the greatest thing since sliced bread when they were playing because Pat Mahomes was lighting it up. They get their ass beat in the Super Bowl, and it's, well, look, he didn't have an offensive line. The excuse will come one after another, one after another. And that's what LeBron, when they're winning, it's look what LeBron's doing with this person. Look what he's doing with that person. The minute they lose, it's, well, Anthony Davis got to do better. I'm Anthony Davis. I'm looking like, God damn, when I'm playing and I'm giving you 38, he gets the credit. If I have a bad game and he has a bad game, it's my fault. So, I know we're gonna have to let everybody get a little feel because trust me, I can do the 45 minutes by myself. But that's really the reality of the situation is the fact that it's LeBron's team is what bothers me is because nothing Melo does is going like aside from some miracle thing, like you said, he averages like 20 points in the playoffs and it's a game winner in game 7 and pulls a Andre Iguodala and wins, finals MVP. Unless that happens, it'll be Look what LeBron did. He got Russ and he got Melo a championship. He has to be better than
Shit's
Michael
already
Jordan
starting.
now.
Shit's already starting.
So that's my little quick headache for what happened in my office when I got the news earlier today.
Reggie, what happened when you got the news today?
Real quick, just to reiterate, I'm a little offended because I don't think Patrick Mahomes best example of that. I'm from Kansas City, so it's a little biased. But I understand completely what you're saying.
Oh no, I love Pat Mahomes. I agree. I don't think he's a bad player. It's just one of those. It's
But
never his fault.
like,
It's the media's fault how they portray him. It
right.
has nothing to do with him. It's really like mostly like the Shannon Sharps of the world who will say, "Oh, when everything's great, it's all Pat Mahomes." I mean, you got a great coach. You got one of the best tight ends, and he's got talent. I just don't like it when things don't go according to plan. It's like it's everybody's fault for him. He had a shitty Super Bowl. It happens. It happens to the best of them. I mean, I know we're supposed to be talking basketball, but I'm just saying, when it comes to that situation, any quarterback, if they don't have time to throw the football, it's going to look terrible. But, we're told the Aaron Rodgers and Pat Mahomes can make, wine out of water. And that's all that proved was you put an offensive line out there that can't block. I don't give a shit who Michael Jordan couldn't even win that Super Bowl. So that's just my point. But all love to Kansas City.
That's good. No, just like everybody on here, just I could see it first. I'm gonna say I could see it when you first started this out. You looked like it was the end of the world for you, Steve.
It is, bro. It is.
I've been looking at Twitter all day and just like being combative and just just to myself cussing out some of the tweets or whatever what people are saying or whatnot. And really, I feel I'm disappointed mainly in the fact that I feel like not only did Melo quit, he submitted. He let the narrative control him. Everything that everybody was saying, he's turning into that now. And it's like, why? You don't have to. Like, I don't know. I guess even with some of the Melo fans or whatnot, they're saying that they wouldn't mind him coming off the bench in Miami behind somebody like DeRozan or if Kawhi came there or whatever, or any of these, or even what happened back in Portland or whatnot. It's like there's no reason he should have came off the court. They joined for what? What was he doing? Why was he coming off the pitch behind Rocco? I don't understand it. I don't get it. Like, what were they doing so much better that he needed to come off the bench behind them? And and deserved all the minutes and stuff. Even the trade, what they did. So you trade for Norman Powell to send Gary Trent, one of your young stars, away to bring Norman Powell to sit him on the bench and have Melo on the bench too. Like, none of that stuff made sense to me. And so I just felt like everything that everybody was saying, he just like submitted to. Now, like, yeah, now you're literally the eighth, ninth person off the bench now. You're literally finna sit in the corner now. I mean, you got AD, LeBron, Russell, they're gonna put before you. They most likely gonna put. Just think about even how they signed him. They went and got Trevor first. They went and got Dwight Howard first. They went and got Kent Bazemore first. They went and got all these people from them. Like, you got a little cash left to get Melo? All right, go ahead. It makes me feel like, I mean, just think about it when it came down to it a couple years ago and it came between Melo and Chris Dudley.
Jared Dudley.
Whatever. One of the Dudleys. They both up. But it just, I mean, I don't know. It's like I said, and even the whole LeBron thing with what Vic said or whatever, it's like, I just don't get it. Like, I mean, I understand y'all friends, but when y'all on the court, y'all both play the same position. Y'all both came in as huge stars, and it's just like, so you finna run and made it seem like you have to go run to LeBron to sit on the bench to get your ring. No one remembers that Gary Payton got that ring. I didn't feel not too long ago when somebody brought it up. But I mean, no No one remembers Gary Payton on the Miami Heat. They only remember him on the Lakers because people bring it up in instances like this. No one's gonna remember him like that. They remember Gary Payton when he was with the Sonics and locking people up and going head to head against Jordan. No one cares about the Miami Gary Payton, and no one's going to care about the LA Melo. It's just you're not. We're fans because we want to see you shine. We know what you could do on the basketball court, and you're not going to be doing it. You're literally going to sit on the side of the corner with your hands up, waiting to get a shot when Westbrook goes 1-on-5 and can't make the layup and he dish it out. Or when LeBron feels like it or whatnot in clutch time, he feel like, oh no, there's too much pressure, and then got to toss to you. I mean, come on, it's like you're not going to even have a Robert Horby role. Like it's just hella frustrating. It's just like at this point now, it's just like I'm not even gonna watch basketball. Like, what am I finna watch the Lakers for? What am I gonna sit and watch you for? To see you come off the bench? To sit here and you seen the tweet I seen you not too long ago when that dumbass move that LeBron was making over in the corner. It's like, what the hell is this? What is his go-to move? What does he do? I mean, it's like, to me, he's just an athlete. He's a great athlete, and he excels so much that he can be good at basketball, and he has the good vision. Outside of that, I don't see too much more where he's like, he's not a basketball player. He's not a basketball player. He's not a hooper. He's just a great athlete. And you run to him, man, he gonna get all the glory, like we were just saying. When y'all win, he got Melo and Russell Westbrook ring. He gotta be a go. Above Jordan. Jordan ain't never put this many people on that pushed them over into. They're gonna say because of LeBron, exactly. Melo got a ring and was pushed into the Hall of Fame. And it's just, I don't know. I hate. It's weird. I'm so emotional over sports.
Bro, we all are, bro. Look at all of us right now.
It's devastating. So I mean, you go ahead.
Yo, to touch on that real quick, one line to some. I love how you both kind of went on different things. Like Vic was talking about, it's not going to be Melo when they win. It's going to be LeBron, and then you're talking about he's not going to get opportunities. We thought Portland was bad in terms of Melo not getting run, Melo not getting the ball. LA is going to be so much worse. So that's what I want to say like that. On that, Evan, what you got, man?
Well, obviously, you all took most of it. I couldn't agree more with the stuff you guys said, but I just wanted to touch on the fact that, well, first, I want to preface it by saying a couple years ago, we wouldn't know if he's still playing now. I'm still appreciative that we get to see him for another year. So I just want to start with that. But sure. Secondly, I'm just worried how the Lakers coaching staff handles this roster the same way we dealt with the Robert Covington, Derrick Jones Jr. starting over Melo. Because right now, from on paper, Carmelo could have a role. Because with Russell Westbrook starting, you don't want someone like Dwight Howard starting at center. You need spacing. And I've heard a lot of Laker fans in the community talk about starting Anthony Davis at center this year. And Marc Gasol averaged 5 points last year. He's 36. He's decaying. He's done soon. So if the Lakers play their cards right, they could make a lineup of AD at the 5 and Melo at the 4. Knowing what we've seen over the last few years with how they treat him, I don't expect that. I think they're going to start a Marc Gasol who averages 3 points over him. I think they're going to put Trevor Ariza, who just shoots worse, but is known for being a 3-and-D player. So he gets the minutes over him. I'm just saying, as much as we've seen, I'm gonna remain optimistic about how the Lakers handle him, and then we'll go from there. But I also wanted to talk about the Knicks because obviously we want, especially you, Steve, we wanted to see him back on the Knicks. And as much as I would have loved that, and that was my top choice too, of course. The last few days I've really been thinking what his role in New York would be. Fair. And now at Carmelo's age, we know he's a 4. We know they like him at the 4 because he's a bit slower and older. You got Julius Randle, who's their best player that is taking that starting 4 spot. And then you have Obi Toppin off the bench, for 4, and you're not putting either of those at the 5 because you just re-signed Mitch Robinson and Nerlens Noel, and then you just signed Evan Fournier with that'll take like some of the 3 spot with RJ Barrett, and they re-signed Alec Burks, and I've just been thinking about the math in my head, and as much as we would have loved to see Melo in New York, I think we would have I thought we would have been like so happy today, but then when we see him just on the New York bench, it would have probably been the most depressing thing we could possibly see. So those are my thoughts on that.
Fair. I want to talk about the Knicks in like this next segment. Again, we didn't even have fucking topics. Like for those listening, watching, I hit everybody up. I'm like, yo, like let's just fucking run it and like see what happens. But for me, man, the number one thing, there's so many things that run through my mind, but like one thing that is at the top of my mind with this whole move is just that it's such a lose-lose. It's such a lose-lose move. How does this help Melo in any way? Like obviously they're a championship contender, and if they win, cool, he has a ring. And I thought about it. If the Lakers win, bro, like I won't be able to enjoy it nearly as much as like I'll be able to enjoy. I would have enjoyed a Knicks one or like a Portland one for that fact. And like obviously I'm not saying he should have re-signed in Portland, but it just wouldn't fucking mean as much to me as other shit would have meant. And it's just so frustrating because it's like, what is the upside here? The upside here is that like he gets to like 10, 11 points a game and like he comes off the bench and like maybe it's a couple clutch shots in the playoffs and shit like that. But if they lose, like if they win, it's great. Melo will get no credit. If they lose, like Vic said, who's going to get all the blame? It's not going to be LeBron. Is it going to be Melo? Who knows? Maybe it'll be Melo. Maybe it'll be Westbrook. Who knows who it'll be? But it's just such a lose-lose. And another thing that I was thinking about is like this when we think about championships, right? Like Phoenix 2 weeks ago, everybody when the Suns were up 2-0 in the finals, what was everybody saying about Chris Paul? Like, yo, this dude, like, all right, we got to start talking about where Chris Paul is all time because he's about to win this championship, right? And I feel like in LA, people will not have that discussion because Melo won't be one of those guys who like changes the course of this LA team. Like, yes, he'll get 10 points a game, but at the end of the day, they won the championship 2 years ago. If they were healthy this year, a lot of people think they probably would have won. So, like, again, how much credit will he get? How much will this ring mean to his legacy and to his career? And for me, obviously, as a Knicks fan, but also as a Melo fan, like, I just won't be able to enjoy it. One, knowing that he's doing it with LeBron, and as a Knicks fan, I would have rather he went to Brooklyn. I literally would have rather he went to Brooklyn than to be in LA and doing this whole thing with LeBron just because it's such a lose-lose. And the last thing I want to say for right now is that the reason I think we all ride for Melo so hard and we all fuck with him so heavy is because he never took the easy route. Like in Denver, he stayed until they were like, yo, we're going to rebuild. In New York, he stayed until they said, yo, we're going to rebuild. In OKC, he got traded there literally the day before media day because the Knicks were going to rebuild. In Houston, so in OKC, he was going to be a part of that team that pushed them over the top. In Houston, he was supposed to be a part of that team that pushed them over the top. Even in Portland, like not saying he was going to push them over the top, but that was out of desperation. So to me, like Reggie, like you were saying, to see him be like, fuck it, like I just need a ring because like this, and like obviously the point of playing basketball for a lot of people is to win championships, right? You want to make money at the job, but at the end of the day, you also want to win championships. So of course that plays into it, but just like doing it this way, and Melo might not ever say this, but let's say best case scenario they win and he's a contributor on the team. Deep down, I wonder how much it'll really like satisfy him, as opposed to if he came back to New York and like people saying, yo, go get the ring this year and then come retire next year in New York. There's just been so many things going through my mind. Just the whole LeBron getting all the credit, but no blame. The whole it's a lose-lose. The whole like, yo, I like can't believe he did it. Like I can't believe Melo was like, fuck it. Like, I'm going to give in and like I'm going to go to LA. I never thought it would happen.
I just want to say real quick, any basketball fan who thinks that if Carmelo Anthony were to win a championship this year and like put up like 6 points because he doesn't shoot, like doesn't get the ball, and think that changes his all-time ranking even a little, does not know basketball and should not be talking on it. The amount of media attention to like the positivity around ring chasing is like ridiculous. That doesn't like influence your career as a basketball player if you're not contributing to it. And again, like we all agree, like he could contribute and he like is capable of it. Like we're not saying he's not capable of it, but knowing how these players treat him, these coaching staffs, like yeah, it doesn't make your career any more impressive if you don't contribute to it.
And last thing, and then my turn will be over. But like, you look at championships over the past 10 plus years, the championships that people value the most, including myself, is what? That 2011 Dallas Mavericks championship, because Dirk stayed through it. He was like, bro, like, I don't, if it's not in Dallas, I don't want to win anywhere else. Giannis, he could have won somewhere else. He could have formed the super team. What did he do? He stayed, and look how everybody's treating him now. Dirk stayed. Look how everyone's treating Dirk, how everybody treats Dirk. Even Kawhi, like the Toronto thing was a little weird, but he did that all on his own. And like, not saying 36-year-old Melo can single-handedly lead a championship, a team to a championship, but those championships mean more than those Warriors one. What do you hear about KD? Like, oh, KD's rings don't count. Like, people say that shit all the time. And the Gary Payton example was a perfect example. Like, nobody remembers Gary Payton won a fucking championship in Miami. Like, nobody remembers that. Dwight Howard, people like to shit on him. He's one of the greatest big men ever and was one of the best players in the league at the time. People aren't going to remember, Dwight Howard in that Lakers championship. Like, what? He wasn't nearly the dude he was in 2009 with Orlando, 2010 with Orlando, 2008, whatever.
The funny thing is that you just said, Kevin, that like validly that people say KD's rings are fake. KD literally won the Finals MVP in both of those, exactly. And people don't even credit it. He won he was the most valuable player, and people still didn't even give a shit.
To still keep it on this LA topic, but let's kind of switch it up a little. And Reggie, you talked about it a little, so we could start with you on this. What do you think of the Encore Fit now? I'm going to read you guys the roster because I have it up. I had it up. Let me see if I could get it back. And just let me know what you think of how this fits on the court, because I am not a fan. So ready? At point guard, they have Westbrook, Kendrick Nunn, and Talen Horton-Tucker. At shooting guard, they have Malik Monk, Wayne Ellington, and Kent Bazemore. At small forward, they have LeBron, Trevor Ariza, and Alfonso McKinney. Power forward, Anthony Davis, Carmelo Anthony. And center, Dwight Howard and Marcus Gasol. So, Reggie, start with you. Give us like a 2-minute rundown of how you think Melo fits with this LA team on the court.
Like I said, I just don't see when he would actually be hitting them. Because they were even saying they were like pushing LeBron to the 4 spot, which will push Melo back even further. But kind of because they'd be moving Anthony Davis to center or whatever. But it'd be a type of thing where they'd be shifting back and forth. And I think they're gonna be using Trevor Ariza a lot more than they'd be using Carmelo. I still don't hit. Only for real true point guard out of it is LeBron or whatever. There ain't no knock on him for it or whatever, but I don't know. I don't see too much of a great fit with it. I feel like LeBron, at least with AD and Westbrook, he's trying to recreate what he started in Miami with D Wade and Bosh. When he went to Cleveland, he switched it up for Kyrie and Kevin Love. I feel like that's what he tried to do here. Only difference, in a lot of cases, Kyrie was able to shoot way better than the other two. And at least you could say when it comes to D Wade, he knew what shots not to take. Westbrook is I'm sorry, he's a more aggressive, meaner J.R. Smith. But where's your shoot? I mean, we get mad at J.R. because he just takes bad shots at worst possible time in the game. Westbrook, he shoots like he's Dame Lillard or Steph Curry out there. It's like he shoots. He'll put it up with the best of them. They won't go in most of the time, but he'll put them up with the best of them, like he's draining them. And so I feel like LeBron maybe think that he could tweak it a little bit to where somehow it'll fit. I don't know, but it just depends on when it comes down to who's actually really going to control the ball. I don't know. I really don't like the fit, especially for Melo. I just don't see when he has the floor. I don't know what role he'll actually play. When he's out there, I can see them just having him just sit in the corner. So I mean, I don't know. I can't. I ain't got much to say on it. I mean,
yeah. Let's go over to Vic. Vic, what you think, man? On Encore Fit.
All right. So I vented on my frustration. I'm going to play devil's advocate right now. I'm going to try to be the positive spin on all of this. My man on bottom right, Ryan, that's your name, boss?
Evan.
Kevin. All right.
Evan.
So he had said it. Evan. My bad. No, my bad, bro. But Evan kind of was hitting more on it when we were just talking about like the Dwight Howards and everything like that. But and I look at the team, you know, they went on a rapid fire. You know, as you know, people we were mentioning earlier how it was Trevor Ariza, it was Wayne Ellington, and it was Dwight Howard. All these signings they came before Melo. Doing research, you realize that they went on this fire sale because once they acquired Russ in that trade, there was only 4 players under contract on the roster. It was Russ, LeBron, AD, and Marc Gasol. So at that point, it was like they had to start filling the roster. So when those moves came originally, at first, I was hesitant, but it was just kind of like, we'll see. As far as his fit, he can be a positive fit, and it actually can work for him as long as things work out a certain way. If you watched the Lakers last year, they played a lot of what we call big basketball, meaning, you know, they didn't have the traditional point guard or the traditional 2 guards out there. They would play, you know, it would be all big. You had Montrezl Harrell out there with Anthony Davis and LeBron and Kuzma, and then it would be the traditional guard would be Dennis Schroeder, or you would have Caldwell Pope would possibly be in there. So, you know, they're not like Portland. Very, you know, unfortunately, where Frank Vogel's not like a robot like, you know, Terry Scott was, where it's like, okay, I need to have this, and this is what I'm going with. He'll switch up real fast. So there's a situation where Melo has an opportunity, as we discussed. I mean, looking at the roster, while I like Trevor Ariza, great 3-and-D, there's no reason why Melo shouldn't be in the starting lineup. It's most likely, in my eyes, it's going to be Russ at the 2 guard. You can kind of play with it. You can either go with Wayne Ellington, you can go with Malik Monk. But I think Malik Monk is actually who they're looking at as that spark off the bench, because the kid is young. He's a natural born scorer. So I think they're going to have that lineup where it would be like Russ. The 2 position, like I said, is kind of up in the air. That young boy, I don't know his name. I just know they call him TNT. He can play the 2. And you're looking at Braun, Melo, AD. I don't think they're traditionally going to go with the Marc Gasol center. Marc Gasol literally is still on the team because he was just all that was left. That's why they went and got Dwight Howard. And as you see, Dwight Howard in Philly didn't play much, and I don't expect him to play more than between 10 and 15 minutes in LA between him and Marc Gasol, because they can't. So I think the playing time is there for Melo if it's played correctly. The biggest thing about the fit that I started to get a positive spin on talking myself into it is, AD is very injury prone. So I look at it as there's going to be a lot of games where, one, he's either hurt or they're sitting him because they don't want him to get hurt. So that's putting Melo in that position where he gets a lot more time at the 4 also. And what Russ, OKC Russ and even Houston Russ was erratic, but big picture, if you really watched him play last year, he wasn't as erratic. He deferred heavily to Bradley Beal. He didn't take as many shots. If you can get a Russ that can stick with that 15 to 20 shots, and he's not going to have the ball in his hand all the time. I will tell you, I don't know when they made the trade, whether they told him, listen, the ball is not going to be in, because LeBron James cannot function as a basketball player without the ball in his hands. That's why Miami Heat sucked that first year. I don't care what anybody said, and that's why Dallas beat the brakes off of it, because LeBron doesn't know how to play off the ball. If he's orchestrating it, as much as I hate him and as much as he just makes my mind boggle, because he's no different than Giannis. He's just a better shooter. And I don't understand NBA players when they play defense. Like, they just let him run over them. Like, he just puts his head down and he just goes straight forward. Like, if he was going to, the Spurs had the blueprint for those years when Tim Duncan was healthy on how to beat any LeBron team. They'd pack the paint and they'd force him to shoot. If he's hitting 3-pointers and he can do that for 7 games in a series, you know what? Hell, they deserve to win it. Hats off to him. But when you let a player do what he's great at and continue to let him do it, I don't understand the NBA. I don't know if the league puts out a memo. You can't double team LeBron. You can't pack the paint. We have to let him do what he wants, because if people just said, all right, we're going to play Melo 1-on-1, no double teams, he'd kill him. He doesn't get nearly the same respect in that course of that. People don't let Melo do what he's good at. They're not going to let him play 1-on-1. But they just let LeBron do it all the time. And I it baffles me. It really does. It makes me like go crazy. I mean, Melo at the age of 37, when he gets the ball on the post, still demands a double team. It's crazy. I was watching a video the other day where he got it in the post and they literally ran 2 people at him because they wanted the ball out of his hand. So the man can still score. The man is in great shape. The man can still contribute. I believe if everything is perfect, the way he envisioned, the way him and LeBron James talked, you see how I said LeBron James and not Frank Vogel and not Jeannie Buss or any of them other executives. I said LeBron because that's the only person that matters in the league. He's making decisions. Them being so close, I believe that if he gets the opportunities, I think he will stay at that 13 to 15 point a game range. Possibly more, like I said, because I think he'll get a lot more opportunities, because I don't think AD is going to be a 82 game player. I also think they're going to watch him, as he plays. He's going to take certain games off, just like LeBron will take certain games off. So I think this is probably, and it sucks to say this is probably one of the better opportunities. As you said, like the Knicks to win, yes. And I think, and I'm disagreeing with. I think I said this is double advocate. If things work perfectly, it's probably his best opportunity, playing time wise. Also, as Evan mentioned, I think the Knicks was just going to be bad because they're young. You know what I mean? And I think when you got a young team, like that. They want to develop their young players. And then, Portland is Portland. I mean, Derrick Jones Jr. started over him all year, and then he's in the witness protection program, and I still don't know if they found him yet. So, yeah, I'm going to let y'all get into it, but that's just I think he can shine here if things are in a perfect line. We had the same thought process for Portland, but I think he might get more opportunities than we think because of his relationship with LeBron and the fact that you do have AD, but AD is not going to play every game, and then there's no way you're going to play Dwight Howard 30 minutes and you're not playing Marc Gasol 30 minutes. So that has to be more time for Melo. I envision him playing 23 to 25 minutes a game, possibly more.
Fair.
But we'll see.
That's exactly what I was saying. And the same thing, like you said, obviously Carmelo is more valuable on the court right now than Obi Toppin, but Obi Toppin's 23 years old and needs to be developed. See, if you're talking about veterans, it doesn't it's just who's better. So that's what separates the Knicks and the Lakers. And I agree that the Lakers, as much as we hate it, just the way the players unfold, it honestly might be Melo's best chance to get the most minutes.
How do you think it's on court, Evan?
So first, I'm just worried that how they do the first game, who they decide to start. Because what I've noticed about professional basketball, which I can't stand, is that when you have certain players off the bench and they perform poorly, they stay on the bench because they're on the bench. If they play well off the bench, they're fitting their role great. We're going to keep them off the bench because they're doing what we want them to do. It's a great fit. So that's what even when Carmelo was playing so well, and we were every day in the Discord, we were like, start him. He's playing so well. I feel like the ideas and like Terry Stotts, it's like, oh, it's going well, so why change things? So that's what I'm so worried about. But like you guys said, Frank Vogel is not Terry Stotts. But that's my biggest concern, is that they have an idea and they just stick to it, which is just the dumbest thing you can do as a coach. It means you're not even a coach. But basically, you guys said it all. Like we touched upon it. There's a carved out role for Carmelo if they decide to give it to him, and it's the ball's in their court. So that's really all I have to say.
Fair. That's fair.
I mean, Evan, it's like you said, Terry Stotts had that attitude of he just was a robot. It had to be this way, and he never changed. Frank Vogel switches it up. I just find it really hard because if you watch LeBron, like anytime Melo does something good, like he's chasing, moving up in the rankings, like they are really true friends. Like he really, really loves Melo, like as a person and as a friend. I think he values that relationship. I find it hard that unless Carmelo Anthony is like totally sucks. I mean, unless like I said, both knees fall off and he can't just do it. If Melo's the exact Melo from Portland, it's hard for me to think that LeBron would be okay, or that Melo wouldn't have that conversation where he would pull LeBron to the side like, yeah, there's no way I'm saying at the end of this bench, or you guys are gonna play Trevor Ariza, and I got 20, in the third quarter, and I played 2 minutes. So I just think that relationship is the reason why I think his minutes, like I don't think he's gonna have to worry about that type of minutes because of that type of relationship. I find it hard to believe LeBron's gonna be like, yeah, Frank, I know Melo got 20 right now, but yeah, let's play Trevor Ariza because we're worried about defense. Nobody in the league plays defense, so I just wish everybody stopped with that. He's a 3-and-D guy, because all these 3-and-D guys, that everybody talks about. I watch games and Giannis will have 40 on the greatest 3-and-D guy. PJ Tucker's the greatest defender, and Kevin Durant was treating him like a 5-year-old when he played him. So,
I couldn't agree more.
I just stop with the defense, and we got to play defense because nobody plays defense. It's about you just need to play defense good in a spurt. And that was the one thing that Portland was so good at, and why they never rose out of a game is just that if you can get just that 4 or 5 stops while you're hot, that's all you need. Because that's all it is. It's just playing D in good situations. Everybody's going to score 100, 110 points a game. That's just the way the league is right now. So just stop with the 3 and D guy. Like, Trevor Reeves is a good player. I don't want to hear nobody ever talk about this 3 and D because, there is no defense in the NBA at all.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to bring up about the Encore Fit is before the Lakers traded for Westbrook, I thought Melo could have had a legit role on this team. I think he would have been the third option if they just filled the roster up with shooters and things like that. Like you need around LeBron, because when they say LeBron makes people better, he makes spot up shooters better because he gets them open looks. With Westbrook, I forgot who said it. I think Vic said it. He can't play off the ball. You can't play Westbrook isn't effective off the ball. LeBron James is not effective off the ball. So when you have two guys who are going to handle the ball the majority of the time, the way they're going to be effective for their team is getting guys open looks, aka spot up shooting. Melo's not a spot up shooter. Just because he shot 40.9% from 3 last year does not mean he's a spot up shooter. On top of that, that they're going to prioritize getting Anthony Davis his looks. So when you have LeBron controlling the ball, when you have Westbrook controlling the ball, and when you have both of them prioritizing Anthony Davis, where does that leave Melo? That leaves him in the fucking corner. And what did we see from Portland last year when they allowed, and the last 2 years, when they allow Melo to get in a rhythm, then the spot up shots are there. Then he starts becoming a factor late in games where he can spot up and Dame can kick it to him. What I'm worried about is realistically, what is he going to get? 3-4 ISO touches a game? If that, because Westbrook's going to be controlling it. LeBron's going to be controlling it. They're going to get Anthony Davis his shot. So that leaves Melo in the corner. And when you put Melo in the corner and he doesn't have a rhythm and his first 4 shots of the game are spot up corner threes or from the elbow from 3 and they're spot up, and then he starts 0 for 4, he goes 1 for 5, they might not go back to him. And we saw that in Portland, and rightfully so. Melo doesn't have it tonight, right? We also saw a bunch last year where Melo didn't have it in the first half. He got 2 or 3 isolation touches in the third quarter or the fourth quarter, and all of a sudden he goes 2 for 3, he goes 3 for 4, then he hits 2 clutch threes late in the game, whatever it is. So that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about minutes aside, where he's going to play aside. I don't think any of that matters if they are literally just using him as a spot up shooter. Because out of anybody, and again, this dude's a top 10 scorer of all time. He didn't become that by sitting in the corner waiting for people to feed him. He became a top 10 scorer of all time by them giving him the ball and everybody saying, yo, get out of the way, let him do his thing. I don't know how often LA is going to let him do that. And I just worry about, if he starts 0 for 3 from the game from 3, if he goes 1 for 6, I don't know how it's going to go. I don't know how it's going to go. And I just don't know if LA is going to let him get into a rhythm with Westbrook needing the ball, with LeBron needing the ball, and with Anthony Davis needing shots.
Well, what I'm worried about the most out of this is what all of you have displayed. Hopefully they find a spot for Melo, which means it's the end of an era of the way Melo play ball. Ultimately, I understand why he made the decision. He wanted to get a ring. These players, ultimately, they don't go through their careers off of what the fans want. They just hope that they can put good product out on the floor to get fans to offer that. But ultimately, we all know, they're going there to get rings, to win championships, and you want to get at least one before you leave. So I hope all goes well for him. It's gonna be hard for me to watch because it's not gonna be the Melo that I fell in love with. Not gonna be the Melo who basically took my NBA experience to a whole nother level. Like he really had me more involved watching NBA games because I just love the way that he played and whatnot. And I'm not gonna see it from him no more. It's gonna be literally like everybody's saying. He may get a 3 or 4 isolation plays a game. He's gonna be sitting over there in the corner. It's gonna be the type of thing or whatnot where, I was only watching the Portland games to see him come in. I hate to say it. It was like I'm sitting there waiting to like, okay, when y'all gonna put Melo in what spots? And it's not what I wanted. And, but ultimately I hope he find what he's looking for in LA. And like I said, yeah, ultimately I'm just depressed because I'm not gonna see Melo no more. The last time I really saw Melo was in short stints, not this year, but the year before this. The first
in the
year
bubble, in the bubble,
in the bubble. So
That whole season, really.
And that was, like you said, that was forced upon Portland because of injuries. But
right.
it's aggravating and it's disturbing because he proved that being a third option, hell, even at points in that bubble, he was the second option that he's more than capable. But Steve, just as far as I know, you was talking about like you was worried about like the touches and the ISO. Obviously everybody knows I'm just like you guys. We're the biggest Melo fan, so but I love the basketball as whole. So I watch a lot of games. I've watched the Lakers play because as much as I don't like LeBron, I actually do like Anthony Davis. I think he's a hell of a talent. I also think that in their championship run, while LeBron won Finals MVP, if you watch any of the games, when the games mattered and when they needed a bucket, it was Anthony Davis that was getting them the bucket. And the games that was lost was the games where if Anthony Davis didn't play well, they lost. LeBron would play well, and they would lose because Anthony Davis didn't play well. It's
weird. It's weird how that follows LeBron's career, right? Kyrie shot, right? Allen shot.
So with the Lakers, the LeBron James fantasy guru lovers aren't gonna never want to admit this, but the Lakers are gonna go as far as Anthony Davis takes them because he's their best player. He's what's going to keep the engine running for them. The one thing about the Lakers that I do like watching them play is they do run a lot of like sets and motions and stuff like that to get players open for some type of isolation or backdoor cuts, which I think is something that helps Melo in a sense of you get that action on one side because Anthony Davis with the downstream coming up, and then that will lead to that isolation where Melo gets that switch where now instead of him being guarded by I don't know if they're playing Milwaukee Giannis, it's a Chris Middleton or a Drew Holiday. He has that smaller defender, and I think as much as we hate LeBron will go to that. He'll pass the ball in a heartbeat, especially if he's in a hot seat. The key to all of this is Westbrook. If Westbrook buys in, I think they have a chance, and I think Melo will be able to flourish. I don't necessarily worry about LeBron. I don't worry about AD because AD is going to get his touches, however you put it. Like you said, they're going to make sure he gets his touches, and then he gets his touches because he plays a lot around the rim in the sense of he crashes the rebound, so he's going to get his. It's just a matter of dispersing the rest of the possessions. We know LeBron's going to get his, and then it's like we got to see how they fit Melo into the shot selection.
You got optimistic. I'm sorry. I just don't see it.
Well, I told you when I started this, this is my devil's advocate. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going in this with the hope of this is what's what I'm hoping I'm gonna see. I'm not saying that this is what I believe, but you
'Cause
know
the
what?
way
At some point
stuff
I
like
gotta
we,
believe in something.
but it's like the way if we really look at the way that LeBron basically run teams. It's only a few people that are actually ever going to be doing anything. If you look at all this team, people that have flourished and did way better before LeBron came around, all of a sudden it seemed like they don't have that type of game no more. Kevin Love was getting doubles in Minnesota. He came to Cleveland and never heard from him again. You look at what Chris Bosh was doing up in Canada. He come down to Miami, and he's basically for the most part strictly a defensive anchor. You look at heck
Spot-up shooters.
what you look at what those young LA boys did before they got shipped off to New Orleans and Utah and all these other places. And you see what they did under LeBron, and as soon as they leave, they seem to flourish a little bit more. You look at Kyle,
Yeah.
Kuzma, AD come in, all right, Kyle, we gonna shut you down and whatnot. And so a lot of it, I look at even what Kyle Kuzma do. Not that they games are exactly alike, but you can look at what Kyle Kuzma did and what Melo doing. Is like, well, if it didn't work with Kuzma. Kuzma was taking them stuff because he was trying to find he was gonna carve him out of the spot. That's why he was taking a lot of the shots and stuff, whatever he was. He was like, "Hey, I'm not getting it any other time, so I got to force my way in or whatever." And it's just like I really just don't see how they gonna fit them in there. I just don't see it. LeBron
Also,
center of attention.
bro, real quick on the Kuzma shit. People will say, "Oh, Melo's gonna take Kuzma's spot." Pretty much he's gonna get like 10 shots. They have Westbrook now. People are forgetting that they have Russell Westbrook now. It's not like if it was LeBron, AD, and Melo as like the three scorers or offensive guys. I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it. Melo would be like one of the three guys, but when you add Westbrook and again a guy who just handles the ball so much, where does that leave Melo in the corner? So
Yeah.
Don't give me.
There's gonna have to be some sacrifices, and it's just
I'm sorry.
we're
He is a fan of
gonna.
Tyler. He's been
No, I'm not
sacrificed.
talking about Melo as a sacrifice. I'm talking about I think as a team, if it's going to work, I think everybody's gonna have to give in a little. Again, I'm on everybody's side where it was hard for me to see the fit. Again, it still is hard, but I'm trying to look at the brighter spot of it because face it, he's fucking there. There's nothing we can do. We're gonna have to figure I'm trying to put the best face on it so that at least if I can go in the season, I can say, all right, what can I look forward to? How can it work? That's been kind of what I've been doing since I got home. I'm looking at the roster. I was just deciphering the minutes. I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's the scenarios that Melo can work? So everything I'm talking about is this is my wish list. This is me being the devil's advocate. I got most likely reality on my right shoulder, which is everything we're talking about. It's just going to be terrible. But I'm trying to listen to the left shoulder. But what if this? And, the Kuzma thing, I just think LeBron just has way too much respect for Melo to treat him like he did Kuzma.
We can't say he respect because he would have picked him up 3 years ago.
I was going to say that earlier.
How close of a friendship and stuff, whatever they got.
But this is the thing about that. I don't think necessarily it was about picking Melo up. I think, Steve, you said it from the beginning. I think a lot of that was Melo. I don't think Melo wanted to be with LeBron because he didn't want it to be. He knew going there it's not going to be about him. So I think he went every avenue to try to figure out how to do it himself. So, it's never been. And I think, like you guys said, I think this was the year where he looked at it and said, I'm 30. I just think he said, fuck it. I'm just going to go play with LeBron, and it is what it is. I think he's looking at his legacy and said, I've proven who I am. And now I'm just going to get a ring. That way I don't end up Charles Barkley and Karl Malone. They're going to say, I think no matter what happens to him. Hell, LeBron, I mean, he can average, Melo can go average 25 and Finals MVP, and I swear to God, the narrative won't change. Everybody will still say,
Exactly.
his career was what it was. So I don't think this is gonna help or hurt his legacy.
It can only hurt. It can only hurt.
It can only hurt it. If anything, it only can hurt it because he can play bad. But if he plays great, it doesn't matter. He gets no credit. So, I just think Melo's at peace with his career, and I think that's why he made the decision he made, based off of that. And from the article I read from, was it Wickersheimer? It wasn't about him not having opportunities like with the Knicks and other offers out there, but it literally was Lakers were the one that offered him the best as far as playing time. Knicks wanted him, told him to come, but it was like more like a Portland, probably coming off the bench. And I heard that about a couple of the other teams. And I think the Lakers were probably the only team like, hey, you can start with LeBron, But I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Start Manila.
But
he won't be starting with
Reggie, I'm with you. I think like you said something along the lines of like, this is the end of the Melo we knew or some shit like that. Like, I think that is not like a over exaggeration whatsoever. Like, we're never gonna see Melo get the ball at the ISO at the elbow like 10 times unless like LeBron, AD, like all these guys. Anyway,
I kind of disagree about the Carmelo not wanting to come to the Lakers before. Man got on national television with Stephen A. Smith and basically begged to be on any team. I don't think he was trying to hold out for something better. I think LA did not offer him. I'm 99% sure of that. Yeah.
We've been going for 56 minutes. It literally feels like we just fucking started. At the end, we usually do a control the narrative. I'm wondering if you guys would rather just give like a 1-minute rundown of your thoughts, why you're upset about it, like a summary kind of thing. If you want to take the Vic route and be like, yo, I'm actually pretty hyped about this. Like, here's why we should be a little optimistic. I'll give each of you like 1 minute. We'll go with Evan because we haven't heard from Evan in a minute, of like just whatever narrative, whatever reaction you want to give, like a summary of your thoughts.
I first want to say that before, I feel like we almost, in the beginning of the podcast, we said something how like Carmelo kind of gave in to this. I want to give him a little more credit here because we all know Carmelo is a smart guy. He's one of the smartest players in the league. And I think he really evaluated his options. And like we said, New York, I don't see it feasible that he's getting minutes or just getting the opportunity that we want him to. I don't think a lot of other contenders I don't think teams like Milwaukee and teams like Phoenix, I don't think they were trying to sign him this offseason. I think it really came down to New York or LA, and LA minutes wise just made a lot more sense. As much as we hate to see it, I don't blame Melo at all for this decision because we don't know his other options, and I still think as much as we all wanted him in New York, and it would have been like just so meaningful to us as mainly Knicks fans and like just growing up on that, I don't want to give him blame for this decision.
Fair. Not bad, I thought. Reggie, let's go to you.
Yeah, ultimately, I'm just gonna piggyback off what we just said before. Like, this is like the end of an era of Melo, and what makes it really sad is like when you get certain players that go out, like you look at somebody like Tracy McGrady, or you look at somebody like a lot of these bunch of other Penny Hardaway, they fade away because they physically are breaking down. We keep seeing pieces of Melo and who we've always known him to be, and this is like he still got a lot of it, but for whatever reason, he's just not being allowed to do that or whatnot. So it's just like you seeing he's able to do it, but he's not given opportunity, and so he's phasing out that way. And like ultimately, like I don't fault Melo for making this decision. But like I said, at the end of the day, these players coming to the league wanting to win championships. And, it's just, it just comes to a point or whatever where they got to make pieces they step on how they can go around and do it. Because all these different players make them in different ways. All championships aren't created the same. But at the end of the day, to say a lot of people, they want to say that they got one. Robert Horry sticks his chest out because he got more rings than Michael Jordan. And it's crazy or whatever, but it makes them feel a certain type of way or whatnot. So I don't hold my hat. I would love for him to go to Miami. My second choice was New York. I felt like with New York, even if he didn't get all that playing time, he's from New York, and he really could been a great mentor towards Obi and RJ. I really feel like he could have, really showed them how to handle New York because he dealt with it, and Obi, because he's from there, he could have showed him a version of that, and RJ because he's going to be their start. He really could have mentored them in that way and could have went sent off completely as a beloved Knicks legend, and that's what people remember him as. Him leaving as LA, people are gonna be like, Melo was on LA. That's how it's gonna end up. A couple years if they win this championship, people gonna be like, he did one when he won with LA, and people are like, well, he ain't never played for LA. That's how the conversation is going to go in 5 to 10 years, and it's, to me, that's just kind of sad or whatnot. And personally, Melo was my favorite player. He's been knocked down to the third, maybe fourth spot.
Today?
It goes T-Max, Scotty. I might have to put Reggie above Melo because the way he's going out right now, because it's fresh. It's still fresh. I'm in my feelings about it.
Yeah, we learned this like literally 7 hours ago.
Right. So it's just, I don't know. I mean, it's just that move. That move was just truly disappointing because I don't think I would have ever seen Larry Bird and Magic playing together. I don't think I would have ever seen that. And that's what we have right here. We got Larry Bird saying, I just can't beat him. Let me go ahead and join Magic. So,
yeah. I don't think any of that is an exaggeration. I think that's all facts. Vic, close us out. Let's get like 1 to 2 minutes of whatever you want to talk about.
So I guess closing out, I'm leaning more towards Evan. I don't blame Melo. I do think that out of all the options, this was his best option. Melo's probably one of, if not the smartest NBA player, that I've really paid attention to. LeBron obviously, but I think he was smart enough when he gauged and figured out who's going to give him what, and based off of what was offered, I think he felt the Lakers offered him the best opportunity, playing time wise. How this is going to work on the court is yet to be seen. I'm looking at being more optimistic about what's going to happen on the court, just because Melo's my guy. It's MJ and Melo, and as far as my favorite players of all time, and I don't look at this as an end of an era for him. I look at this as it's right in the final chapter, and I think at this point, we wouldn't seen Magic and Bird or Jordan and Hakeem Olajuwon, but that was the NBA then. The NBA now, this is normal. You know what I mean? So when this happens, nobody's shocked. I mean, I wasn't shocked when it happened. It wasn't something I wanted to happen, but I can't say I was shocked. But I'm more optimistic about it as far as I'm looking forward to seeing how it works. I'm going to give it that 10 game field to see what happens. You know what I mean? I'm
You
look
gonna
for
give
training camp.
Some
treatment?
Daryl Morey
I'm
type shit.
I was just gonna say that.
I'm a you know what I'm saying? So right now I'm more in the I know what I hope is going to happen. I know what possibly could happen. I know this could fall flat on on its face. He could end up being the spot up guy. But I'm choosing to see how it works. I mean, I'm hoping to be surprised. I'm hoping in the first 10 games we see him out there for 25 minutes and and a part of the game. It doesn't necessarily have to be him getting 15 shots, but if he got 10 shots and he's I don't know 5 or 10, but got 5 rebounds and 5 assists, I can live with that. You know what I mean? Melo doesn't have to score 25 for me to feel like Melo's back. Melo can average 13 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists. It's just his presence on the court is what I think is a big deal, and it's a big deal for everybody else. You know what I mean? AD can have 60, but as long as I can, my thing is knowing Melo was a part of that or the reason why he was able to get 60, because now you can't double team, AD. You can't, pull all these stunts. And if you do, maybe Melo drops you 40 because they disrespect the 37-year-old male thinking he still can't do it. So I'm going to take that approach for now. Again, I know it could go the other way, but I'm going to wait and see. I'm going to ride with Melo, and I'm going to take the route that he's smart enough to know he put himself in the best position. And I'm going to ride with him and believe that he put himself in the best position and that we're going to see what I envision as opposed to what everybody thinks is going to happen. So
Fair.
I'm be optimistic here.
That's fair. I'll just end it off with this. Heading into free agency. And like we're all sitting here talking about like, yo, what we think is best. Like, obviously what's best for Melo is whatever the fuck he wants. Let's end this shit by saying that. Like Vic was just saying, our thoughts, opinions, even though people listen to them sometimes a little bit on YouTube, sometimes a little on Instagram, sometimes a little on Spotify, doesn't really mean shit. But heading into free agency, the two things that I thought made the most sense was, one, either sign with a guaranteed championship contender like the Lakers or like the Brooklyn Nets, or come home to the Knicks. And the mentor role, I think he could have gotten some minutes. And there were still rumors about the Knicks trading Obi for Colin Sexton, especially because the Knicks don't have a point guard right now, like a starting point guard. I thought that would have been interesting. That would have freed up a lot of shit. Obviously, that hasn't happened yet. But for me, the last thing I just want to touch on is, being a Knicks fan, wanting him to come back to the Knicks. I mentioned it before. I would have rather he signed with the Brooklyn Nets than the Los Angeles Lakers, just because the Brooklyn Nets have not taken that next step yet. It would have hurt like fucking hell to watch the root for the Brooklyn Nets, see Melo in black and white, but they haven't taken that next step yet. And Melo would have been more credited in the Brooklyn Nets winning a championship than he would have with the Lakers, because we know who's on the Lakers and we know who's on the Brooklyn Nets. And the Brooklyn Nets were about an inch and a half away from winning it all last year, if we're all being honest. If KD's foot was behind the line, they win it all. But, Melo, if you put Melo on that team in overtime, instead of KD going, 0 for 6, you give Melo a couple looks because Harden wasn't Harden. Kyrie wasn't even playing. So I just feel like it would have meant more for Melo to win with the Nets than if he wins with the Lakers. So, and it takes a lot out of me to say that, but that's how I feel. And yeah, man, it's been a wild, wild day. Again, we all kind of expected this, but to actually get that notification and to actually see the Photoshop pictures of him going viral on SportsCenter and Woj tweeting it out and all this shit, it was it was pretty wild to see. So Reggie, Evan, Vic, thank you for allowing me to vent to you guys, and I hope that this helps you guys vent a little too. Obviously, it's going to be something that we do for months during the year when all of us stay up, us on the East Coast stay up till 1 o'clock to watch Melo go 1 for 4 from 3 and put up 3 points, and wake up the next day tired as shit and just in a bad fucking mood. So we'll see what happens, but maybe Vic will be right. Maybe shit will work out. So
hopefully I don't bring up just no more broken TVs this year. No more broken TVs this year.
That's why
That's what we going for, baby.
before we clicked record, I was like, "Yo, Vic, how's your TV? Like, break any TV?" He's like, "No, not today." So, yeah, man, appreciate all three of you for being members, for being in the Discord, and I'm sure this year is going to be a very interesting year for us. So, appreciate all of you guys' time.
Yeah.
All right, bro. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Stay mellow, baby.